very passionate about the art of creativity, and today I'm going to show you the 5 books that I maintain daily as a creative. One of the most beautiful things about art and creativity is how accepting it is of anyone that wants to participate. Pursuing creativity really helps me heal as a human in a lot of ways because we are all just coping with life. I identify as an artist, and it is important for me to maintain a healthy flow of creativity. First and foremost, we have an agenda. Whether you're doing something creative or not, having an agenda to plan your daily life is a must. This shouldn't even be, you should just already have one before we even got here. Using this with all of the other books is arguably one of the most important things because it creates accountability. When you write down a task in your agenda and put a date on it, that creates accountability, and all of a sudden you're going to be starting something new. Second, and equally as important as an agenda, is the daily journal. I've been doing this for so long that I have books that I can look back at from 2018. The purpose of the daily journal is at the very beginning of your day, you write down a stream of thought, 3 pages minimum of anything. And if you can't think of anything, you just write down, I can't think of anything, and eventually something new will come out. What this does for me is it helps me not ruminate on the plagues of life. When I wake up in the morning and I have something stuck in my head, I write it down and I move on to the next thought. I have fresh ideas. Not only that, but now I can read back to my old journals, and typically I start out writing where I am and what I'm looking at. And when I look back on these entries, I know exactly where I was, what I was doing, and often I can just remember that day. And sidebar, I have been reading through my old journals recently, and it's so interesting to be able to read in almost real time, hear the tone of my voice mature, and the things that I think and write about have matured. My productivity and my approach to life has changed so much since I began journaling, and my outlook on life has changed. Third book that I implement daily as a creative is my sketchbook. I do use my sketchbook to sketch, but most of the time I plan out my to-do lists that change every single day, my tasks. I really break down my day on paper more than I have room for in my agenda. I'll write notes, progress notes. If I randomly get an idea, I'm gonna write it in this book, and it's gonna be ugly and it's gonna get scribbled all over this. When I find myself needing new ideas, I'm gonna open this up and I'm gonna flip through all my random scribbles, and then I'm gonna have a list of great ideas. I've really learned a lot of my really great ideas can just hit me and then they can be gone the next second. So I find it really handy to have a little book to just like draw a little picture or write down a little idea. The 4th book that I maintain daily is my book of choice. This series by Julia Cameron, if you've already read it, then we're already on the same page because everything I'm talking about usually is inspired by this book or her series of books. Learning is important for expressing yourself. We are constantly focused on output. We want to create something, express ourselves. And there is another phase of that where we have to take in something. We have to feed that inspiration with something, and learning something new is one of the greatest ways to do that. Last but not least, this is the book that I do use the least, but when I do need it, I need it the most. This is one that I'm gonna call the affirmation notebook. As I'm going through this and reading my book and coming up with ideas and gaining inspiration, there are going to be things that I read that hit me different. I'm like, oh, I need to remember that for later. When I come across a quote that hits me, or I have a little realization, like a little affirmation that I find really feeds me, I write it in this book. I open this up and I have a list of all of the affirmations, all of the quotes that made me feel powerful and reassured and valid. That's the last one.